guys, this is Ohio. Welcome to my channel. My name is Dan. I wanted to make a video looking a little bit deeper into tire width with regards to cyclocross. As most of you guys know, cyclocross races typically involve a pretty narrow width tire, usually around a 32 millimeter, and often the course conditions are such that you have to dismount the bike to hop barriers and run up steep sections of mud. And that's really due to the history of cyclocross evolving from road racers taking their races in the late off season onto muddy paths and fields. It's cyclocross season here in Ohio, and I'm signed up for 3 races in 3 consecutive weeks, and I thought I would take the opportunity to try a little bit of an experiment regarding the width of tires in cyclocross. Traditionally, since 2010, the UCI dictated that the maximum width for a cyclocross tire was to be 33 millimeters. That was a reduction previously from 35 millimeters, and I think their intention was to just make the sport a little bit more affordable for most people so that you wouldn't have to bring a 35 millimeter tire and wheel set for when that was most appropriate, and more of a 30 millimeter when it was maybe going to be a muddier course and you needed that thin tire to cut through the mud. With the recent spike in the popularity of gravel bikes, so many cyclists now have the option to do cyclocross that might not have been able to do it before and didn't want to take the plunge on a cyclocross specific tire. Gravel bikes will typically offer more clearance than a cyclocross bike, a dedicated cyclocross bike, so you're not really constrained to that 32 millimeter width if you don't want to be. So what I was wondering is, what are the relative advantages of using that 32 millimeter UCI legal cyclocross tire versus something larger, 35 millimeter, 38 millimeter, or possibly even a 2.1 inch mountain bike tire mounted to a 650B wheel. So I figure with these 3 races coming up here, outside the Cincinnati area and Western Ohio, I could compare them back to back to back and really get a feel for what I thought were their relative strengths and weaknesses. I know that this won't be a perfect apples to apples comparison as the course conditions are going to determine so much of what is most appropriate and most advantageous, but I still thought it would be fun to experiment a little bit, and I really haven't seen much discussion online or in other YouTube videos about how a 650B wheel with a large mountain bike tire might behave on a cyclocross course. Now, one question I can imagine you guys asking at this point is, Dan, why are you trying to use a bigger tire size than what is allowed by the UCI, you filthy stinking cheater? You're just going to cheat your way to the top, you stinking You're just going to cheat your way to the top by using a tire size that's way too big for cyclocross? Aren't you destroying the ethos of cyclocross? Well, I don't know, maybe. At this point, I'm really not in danger of getting on the podium or displacing anybody off the podium that's using a legitimately sized 33 millimeter tire. What I'm interested in are variables. I'm just kind of curious. So I know that the 32 or 33 millimeter tire is the largest tire that's allowed by the UCI, but guess what? When I go to a Central Ohio cyclocross race run by Cap City Cross or Neocross, they're not going to really walk around with calipers checking everybody's tire. So there's kind of an attitude in cross to run what you brung. They're a lot more friendly to beginner cross riders than maybe other disciplines in road or time trial. So it's a pretty relaxed atmosphere when you show up, and that's one of the things that I like about cyclocross. So in these Cat 4 or 5 races, it's not unusual to see full-fledged mountain bikes, fat bikes, hybrid bikes, cyclocross bikes, or even just road bikes with like a 30 jammed in there. So in that respect, I'm just trying to explore the options a little bit, and I'm just kind of a curious person. I want to see what the relative advantages are. So for the first race this Sunday, I decided to start with the classic, the 32 millimeter width. Let's check out the bike that I have ready for Lionheart CX, which is going to be in Mason, Ohio. So for this first race, I chose to go with a Schwalbe X1 bite, which has a pretty aggressive tread to it. I did throw the calipers on there. They measure out at a true 32 millimeter width, so I'm not going to be even needing to take advantage of that 1 millimeter UCI leniency there. I've got them hooked up to the Prime Special Edition carbon disc wheels. They're 50 millimeters deep. They have an internal width of 21 millimeters and an external width of 28 millimeters. They are set up tubeless. It's going to be the first race that I've ever done in cyclocross actually on a tubeless compatible system, and the first race that I've implemented these 32 millimeter width tires. I think that there's going to be an obvious advantage when the conditions are smooth, probably less so when things get either bumpy or aggressively off camber or wet. That would be my prediction anyway. Don't know if that's going to be true, but of course that's why I want to check out this experiment. The one thing that I'm not too sure about, and one thing that I've found out with doing some practice runs, is the location of this side knob. They're pretty vertical, and they don't really come around and wrap around the edge of the tire too much. I'm a little concerned about that transition from the sidewall to that tall vertical knob. It really has not felt good on pavement, but I don't know if that'll be quite the same issue when we get into mud and dirt and grass and all that good stuff. All that stuff that we love about cross. So I'm excited. I hope you're excited too. It's been about 2 years since I've done a cross race. Didn't get to any last year due to COVID. I'm sure that's the same case for a lot of you. And really, all told, I've only done about a half dozen or so cyclocross races, so I'm by no means an expert, but it's a lot of fun to line up. Certainly gets the heart pumping, all the chaos, the unpredictability of the race, so I'm really looking forward to it. So the plan is to get some training in. I'll pick up the video on race morning. We'll go from there. All right, guys, here we go. So it's Sunday morning. It's been raining for, 18 hours. So yeah, we'll see what kind of conditions we get. I mean, I'm sure it's going to be extremely muddy. Probably the muddiest course that I've ever raced on. We're headed to Mason, Ohio, Kingswood Park, so maybe about 20 minutes outside of Cincinnati. Like I said, we're just dealing with a fair amount of rain and wet conditions. I registered kind of late, so I think we have 46 people in Cat 4-5. I'm sure I'm going to get jammed in the back, so we might just be playing a game of catch up today and see how many people we can pick off, but it should be fun anyway, so see what happens.
So again, 10:45. Next race today, 10:45 is our women's Cat 4-5, our junior women's 15 to 18-year-olds. So Cat 4-5, junior women 15 to 18-year-olds going to be up next. That's your 10:45 race.
I haven't seen a cross registration tent in a couple years. We've had a mild weather turn around here, so actually a little bit of sun, so conditions look pretty good. A lot of grass, it's not all torn up. So anyway, let's get a race number. Let's get going here. It's 291, my lucky number for today anyway. Looks like we survived the drive. Let's get ready to go. So I just pre-rode the course, and first impressions of the 700 by 32, they're fast when you want them to be on the straight. It's a fast course, and there are some off-camber sections, and then there are some really deep ruts that are muddy. So what happens, at least what happened to me, is that I'm carrying a lot of speed with a lot of confidence until all of a sudden I'm scared out of my mind. So the one downside that I saw, there were actually some stretches of pavement in this race. Leaning this tire with this tall side knob onto that pavement is not confidence inspiring. It feels really squirmy. So I'm gonna have to take those, I'm gonna have to mediate that turn. Anyway, let's get out there and race, see what happens.
How are you, man? How you doing? Doing all right. Alan Bindeman?
Dead last.
Brad Wingo?
Present.
Sean Kelly?
Yep.
Kevin Frog? Edward Ryba?
Yep.
Daniel Nolan?
Here.
The rest of you don't exist.
As long as you finish in 35th place, you'll have held your position. You know, that's what I figured.
That's what it is. I like that.
So if you had started first,
Yeah. Right. There's nowhere to go but down.
Wilson out there running. Not what he wanted to be doing right now, I'm guessing.
Coming by.
Good job, dude.
Good job, buddy. Chains off. Oh no. Is that it? Ah. Yeah. Oh man, I forgot how hard this is. So first cross race of 2021 is in the books, and what do I think? Having only ridden illegal 700 by 38s before, first race on legitimate 32s. However, also the first time I've run tubeless, so what are my thoughts? I'm actually really impressed. I never felt overpowered, rather I never felt underpowered in a way that technique couldn't make up for. So it'll be interesting going into next week's race with the 38s on there and seeing if I, you know, supplying the skill, hopefully from myself, and then adding in the 38mm tires, if that really helps me in the turns, or if it's really just unnecessary. So this is a fun experiment to work out. Probably started in around 35th place and maybe ended up around 20th or so. So I was happy with picking people off a little bit and having some success, keeping rubber side down. So good times. Forgot how hard this stuff is. Put down my bike pretty aggressively after that last stair run and dropped my chain, so had to shoulder the bike and run it in. Always nice to have a little adventure. Gotta love that mud clearance. That is one advantage of the 32mm. Plenty of room. Don't let anyone tell you that this isn't a part of cross racing right here.
So that's it for part one of this video series, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I had a blast racing out there, finishing on the better half of 50%. Really made me feel pretty good about myself, considering it was the first race for cyclocross that I had done in over a couple years. Next week, we're going to be taking a look at the 38 millimeter width tire size, and we'll even check out a hack to get your tires set up tubeless, quick and easy. So if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to my channel so I can continue to bring you some excellent content. Let's go for a ride, have some fun, and stay safe out there.